This is an interview with my client, Ayman Arab, who joined Client Ascension and then graduated to our higher level program called Olympia to scale with ads. Before you watch this, this is not an average result inside of the program. But if you want access to all the things that Ayman did have access to, the links are inside of the description. Let's get into it right now.
I joined Client Ascension December 26th, and then I got to 15K a month in about 3 months.
When you first joined Client Ascension, how much revenue were you making?
I was doing 2K a month.
In your current revenue level right now?
Our current revenue is 132K a month.
What's up, everybody? I got Ayman here. Ayman is a student inside of Client Ascension. Good sir, thank you for coming on. And just so everyone knows who you are, could you explain what your business is, what you do, who you sell it to, in your current revenue level right now?
Yep. So first and foremost, thanks for having me on. So we started the agency 2 years ago. We're a content agency. The business is named Take Scale. We primarily focus on making organic YouTube videos for online coaches, service providers, like Daniel is one of our clients as well. But eventually over time, we evolved to also doing ad creative. And our current revenue is 132K a month.
Nice. And so walk me through like what exactly happened here. Cause like a while ago, you had first joined Client Ascension and then now you're also in Olympia. So like when you first joined Client Ascension, how much revenue were you making and how long ago was that?
Yeah, so I joined Client Ascension on December 26, 2022, and I was doing 2K a month. Well, actually, I closed my first client for 6K up front. It was a 3-month contract, so 2K a month. And yeah, so I guess that was just over 2 years ago.
Nice. And how fast did you get up to the 130 something K a month? So that was, it was literally exactly 2 years, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So here's the whole timeline. So I started the agency November 25th, 2022. And then I got my first client on like December 17th, 2022. I joined Client Ascension December 26th. And then I got to 15K a month in about 3 months. So around the end of February or maybe in March 2023. And then in September 2023, I did a 62K a month. And then we coasted from September all the way to December at around 55K. And then February 2024, I did 93.5K in a month. And then we pretty much coasted like the whole year in between like 70 and 80K a month with the agency all the way up until December of 2024. So 2 months ago or a month ago, we did 132K in a month. So that was the whole timeline. So overall, it took me about 2 years to get to 132K.
Dope. So walk me through, like when you had first joined in December 2022, you were at like 2K a month and you got up to 15K a month. And what was it? You said like 3 months. What did you do to get up to 15K a month from 2K a month originally? How'd that happen?
Yeah. So for that initial 3-month push to get to 15K a month, I primarily focused on cold outreach combined with content. Those are my 2 avenues because there's 3 ways to get clients. There's ads, cold outreach, and content. But I didn't do ads because that's more for later when you make more money. Actually, we scaled to this point with pretty much no ads, but I'll touch more on that later. But basically, cold outreach, my strategy was Dream 100. So I was sending free work, 5 messages per day with free work up front. So originally, we were more focused on short form content. So actually, I was sending free short form clips. What I would do is, because I was still in college, I would stay up until 4 a.m., send 5 free short form videos, and I would sleep and wake up at 6 or 7 a.m. to go to school. And I continuously did that. And then over time, I slowly transitioned to sending scripts rather than short form videos just because I didn't want to edit anymore or pay the editors to do the videos. It was just more efficient. And then for every 100 people we'd reach out to, typically we could close 1 to 2, even though I had like no social proof when I started. So that was the cold outreach side. And then on the content side, I was mainly focused on Twitter and YouTube. Those were my 2 platforms I was focusing on. And we started getting a good amount of clients through Twitter about after 2 to 3 months of posting on there, because it does take some time to kick in. But I was doing like 1 auto DM per week, or I guess you could say 2 per month on average. And then every auto DM, I would turn it into a YouTube video. So I had this whole content ecosystem going on. And then I was in the DMs following up with people. So those were the main inputs. So just to recap real quick, I was trying to do 1 YouTube video a week, 5 messages a day, and then about 2 tweets per day, 10 Twitter replies per day, and 1 auto DM per week as well.
Sweet. Good stuff. For every 100 pieces of like the free work that you'd give out, you'd sign anywhere from 1 to 2 clients. So how many of those did you do in total, would you estimate?
Yeah. We kind of lost count because I use Trello to track them and there's no like number counter, but I don't know if I want to say 1,000, but probably between 700 and 1,000, maybe more. I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Yeah.
For a lot.
Yeah. I think there's a huge misconception with a lot of people who they want to execute a strategy like this. Oh, okay, do free work and they do like 10 and then they stop. You know what I mean? It's just like not even remotely close to what's sufficient to actually make anything happen. So yeah, really, really useful insight there for people who
want to reach an initial 15K a month. What happened after that? So you get to 15K a month, and then and then throughout the rest of that year, you get up to like 60. Like, what happened there? Like, what's the difference between being at 15K a month and getting to like 60?
Yeah. So funny enough, it was just continuing to do the exact same things, but then on top of that, just focusing on producing case studies. Because I got my first good case study right up around when I hit 15K a month. And it was like, I scaled my first client from 30K a month to 75K a month in 4 months. We're doing short form and YouTube for him at the same time. So I used that case study to pivot more into YouTube. And then I just kept pushing out that case study, kept up with the outreach, kept up with the content. Over time, as time went on, like I slowly dropped from doing like 5 messages a day to maybe 3. And then like some days I would miss out just because content is just much higher leverage. So I would like post content and, my brand was bigger. So I would get more clients from inbound. But I started from 0 on content like everyone else. A huge misconception is maybe people look at your account with like 100K followers and be like, oh, of course you made money on Twitter. You have 100K followers, or me now I have 9K. It's like I started with like 100 followers, no profile pic. So to answer your question, it's just more of the same plus producing case studies on top of it to get to 62K. And then actually one more thing I did was to get to that 62K, I had to get a bit creative because I was doing a competition with my friends and we had a goal like, who's going to hit 50K first? And I was short. Like I wasn't going to hit 50K in September 2023. So I had to come up with a new offer. It was like, we'll script your VSL and make it for you. It was like those Gamma VSLs similar to the ones we make for yourself. So we would create the Gamma doc and then edit it. And I sold them for like 2K, or I don't know what I was charging. And we sold like a ton of those. So that's what pushed me up. And then what I realized on that month was like, okay, I shouldn't focus purely on like retainer projects. One-off projects are super profitable and easy to fulfill on too. So nowadays, like, all of our money isn't even MRR. Like we have maybe 20% of our revenue every month is one-offs, and then the rest is recurring projects.
Nice. What do you think about coaching programs? Because obviously not everyone who joins a coaching program gets results, but you join when you go from 2K a month to 132K a month. Why do you get results and why do other people not get results?
Yeah. So just because you join a coaching program doesn't mean you automatically get results, because other people do. Like you said, there's a difference, right? Some people get results like me, some people don't. So the difference is when I joined Client Ascension, I was like hopping in the coaching calls. I was asking questions. I was also making an effort to connect with other people. I made some really great friends there and just kind of keep in touch. Maybe one like Matt Lucero, for example, shout out to him. He has a cold email agency. I'm like super tight with him, and I just made a ton of other friends and surrounded myself with people pushing outreach and getting clients every day. So now I'm rambling a bit, but to come back to the main point, number one, I would show up every day, like not only into the program, like doing calls and stuff, but also like the outreach content, etc. I would track my inputs and connect with people and ask good questions, and then go execute on the questions, and then come back and then show the coaches, hey, I did what you told me. It worked. It didn't work. What should I do now? And then they tend to give you more advice or more attention if you actually execute on what they're telling you. So that's what I have to say on that.
So imagine you're back at like that 2K a month and trying to get to like 15K a month, or 30 or 60 or whatever. You're trying to hit that initial leg up. What advice would you give to yourself in that position? And kind of like other people you see, they get stuck around there. What kind of advice would you give to them?
The advice I would give is like, it's the cliche sentence of nothing happens for a while and then everything happens all at once. So you like when you do Dream 100, for example, like you probably won't close your first client for anywhere from like, sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's 5 weeks, because there's also sales cycles. So like maybe you reach out to someone on February 1st, but they're not going to close till February 20th or something. So you have to keep doing these inputs and make sure you're doing things that snowball and compound over time. So like, don't expect results on day one. Everyone's timeline is different. Like you should compare yourself to other people like myself, but at the same time, just know, everybody's results may vary timeline wise. So just what I would tell myself is stick to the outreach like religiously, like you got to do this every day, no excuses, and then just post the content and then just let God do its thing and it'll work out.
What are your thoughts on offers? Because like originally I remember you came in, it was just very simple, like, we'll do short form video for you, and it's like it doesn't work like that. How's your thought process and kind of just understanding of offers evolved? Like, do you have a take on it?
Yeah. So actually, we didn't have like a basic short form offer. When we hopped in, we created we'll make you 60 shorts using 2 hours of your time, and then that just freaking ripped. But to answer your question, my thoughts on offers now I think like nobody really cares about offers as much as people think. Like people put too much of a focus on it. It's really just like, okay, what will you do for me? Okay, we'll make you YouTube videos. What am I going to get as a result? I'm going to get qualified calls. I'm going to get clients. I'm going to shorten sales cycles. Okay, cool. Do you have social proof? Yes. Okay, then I don't care about the guarantee. Oh, you have no social proof. Do you have a guarantee to make up for it? And I'm like,
Yep. Yeah. So, because I know you coach some people, particularly like content type people.
yeah.
And you probably get exposed to this a lot, where guys come in and they're trying to sell something, just like you get to see like literally no one is buying it. Absolutely zero people are showing interest. What is the kind of advice that you give to these people? Say they're running a content agency like yours, like, bro, just like no one's responding, no one's interested. Like, what have you typically found around that?
Yeah. So after coaching like tons of content agencies, what I realized is like there actually is certain offers where like it works way less than other stuff. So for example, there was a point in time where maybe the 1,000,000 views in 90 days thing like kind of worked, but a couple of students tested it and it just doesn't work as well as the other stuff because people don't really care about views. They care about making money. So you have to make sure your offer is selling something that people want. And the other thing I've noticed to tackle that second point you said of like someone, maybe they're like, hey, I've been reaching out and it's not working. Number one, we make sure like, okay, they're doing their follow-ups because the money's in the follow-up. Are they tracking everything in a Trello CRM? But then also what we've noticed is like the people that have outreach that works, like they're also posting content, right? There's a big difference between the people who just do outreach, no content. And especially if you're a content agency and you're not practicing what you preach, it's very bad. So as long as they're doing their outreach, doing the follow-ups, making content, it ends up working. And the same advice applies to other people. For example, if you have a Twitter and LinkedIn ghostwriting agency, but you're not tweeting and you're not making LinkedIn posts, way less people will buy from you. It'll be way harder to sell. Now, like when I'm on a sales call, I just pitch someone like some short, like a package for like $8,000 a month right before this. I just screen share my Instagram. I talk about, hey, I got 27K views on this reel. Here's how much money I made. Hey, look at my YouTube channel. And then I always say I'm one of the rare content agencies that practices what I preach. And then it just makes such a big difference.
Can you walk us through a typical day now versus when you kind of didn't really have any direction or like know what to do? Like what is running a 132K a month business look like for you, like on a daily?
So now since I've moved to Dubai from Canada, I went from Eastern time to plus 9 hours ahead. So right now it's like 7 p.m. for me. In Eastern, it's like 10 a.m. So this has made it so I usually do calls from like 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's the current window I have open. I do all the sales calls myself. I've messed around with like 2 closes before, but it always just ends up coming back to me. So typical day is in the morning when I have no calls. That's where I'm doing the needle moving activities, such as creating my own content, looking at the CRM and doing follow-ups as well, just making sure the stuff that needs to get done gets done. And then later on in the day, the team logs in. I check in with the team, make sure all the clients are attended to. And then that later part of the day from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m., I'm on calls. It's not the whole way through, a couple breaks in between, but we do get a lot of calls from Twitter, YouTube, etc. And then finally after 11 p.m., so this is like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time, I'm checking in with the team again, making sure everything is good, potentially doing like a Slack huddle with my ops manager, making sure things are clear. And nowadays, a huge focus has been on like hiring because we had such a big influx of clients over the past 2 months. So really just getting video editors in and then simultaneously making editing trainings as well. So that's the answer to the question.
If you had to give it like a synopsis of what you learned specifically in Client Ascension that helped you grow your business to where it is now, what would be like maybe the 2 or 3 most integral things that you learned that contributed towards your success?
Yeah, the first thing that I learned was it's getting successful is a blueprint. It's like you do this, and it'll work. It might take 3 months, it might take 2 months, but it'll work. So I learned like, okay, there's 3 ways to get clients: ads, cold outreach, content. Because, it sounds basic, but it's good to just have all the information just like there. I'm a 2K a month noob. I was like 17 years old. And then I just learned everything. So the first thing is, okay, there's 3 ways to get content. Pick like 2 and then just rip it day in and day out. Track your inputs. That was like another really big thing. Like there was the sprint back in the day. I don't know if you guys still do those, but we had a spreadsheet. We're tracking how many tweets we're doing, all this stuff. And then it was cool to see how many tweets I made versus clients I signed and outreach I sent. the next thing I learned was overall like sales, because I had never sold really anything before. I mean, I sold some varsity jackets, like I had a clothing brand for a bit, but I learned like, okay, this is how a sales call is structured. This is how you handle these objections, etc. And I also learned how to position my offer in a way where it's like, I'm not giving you videos, you're going to make money off of these videos. That was one huge thing that propelled us to the next level. And I guess overall with offers as well, like when I added a guarantee to my offer, that's when we went from like 15K to 30K a month. And I think like 2 months or something, it just made a big difference. And funny enough, like nobody even actually cares about the guarantee. Like it doesn't come up on the sales calls or anything, but it just gets more people on the phone. So that's really, really good change. And a couple other things I learned was like social media, specifically Twitter. Like I didn't really know too much about Twitter before joining. And then I learned like, okay, this is the type of content that gets clients, hey, you should do these Twitter replies and all this type of stuff. So overall, how to run a business as well. Cause we got Andre, the operations goat too. So like, I'll ask him questions and he says, okay, you need to think of the business like a conveyor belt and you need to do this, and that. Of course, a lot of the things I've learned from Client Ascension, I've like morphed into different learnings and added my own experience on top of it and developed those things. But a lot of my base comes from CA. Yeah.
Nice. How long did it take you to make your investment back in Client Ascension?
Oh, I made the investment back like months, I guess 30 days, 30 or 45 days later.
Yeah. Nice. Good stuff. Yeah. Did you have any like hesitations or doubts before joining? Because I know you also do coaching for some other people and you're probably able to identify the same exact thought processes that people have. What is that? Because sometimes people will see like here's a group of people teaching people exactly like me how to get results. Here's a bunch of evidence that they've already done it for a bunch of other people, but no, I'm not going to do it. Like, why do you think that is? What is that thought process?
I think it's more the fact of like they recognize that the program itself works, but they're not confident in themselves to make it work. Like they're scared they're going to join the program and then be overwhelmed and it's a lot of money I'm losing. And they look at the price to join the program as money lost rather than like short-term loss. And I'm going to 100x this later. So, it's really just people not believing in themselves and being scared to like make that leap. Like there's many leaps you have to make in business or in life. Like for example, for me, after I hit maybe $5,000 a month or something, I told my parents, okay, I'm going to drop out of school. And then like maybe way later, I do another leap, which is switching from short form to YouTube. But some people just don't have that, like that dog in them to like make those big leaps and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what's one thing you're doing right now, like actively doing right now that you're seeing is signing you new clients?
Yeah. Right now so it's a mix of two things, but mainly really like Twitter. I pulled up my analytics and I can see when I post more, like we obviously get more impressions. It sounds super obvious, but it's like you tweet 5 times a day, 10 times a day, you get more impressions. And then that just leads to more sales calls magically falling on my lap, whether it's from YouTube or Twitter. Like the Twitter boosts everything. And then the second thing is like, one thing that's working really well is like whenever I get any sales call booked, like actually try and do as much of the sales process over text as possible. This number one, like eliminates calls off the calendar, but we get DM closes, but also just removes the unqualified people who are poor and can't afford my stuff. And sending them YouTube videos has been working like super, super well. Like we noticed, if somebody watches a couple of my YouTube videos before, it's basically like easy close. And then on the YouTube side, what was working nowadays, because my YouTube is more focused on like my coaching program stuff and helping content agencies. But before I went on this streak where I would like make videos surrounding like how to script out YouTube videos, how to come up with ideas, how to make a good thumbnail. And then every single video, I would put a lead magnet in the description, which is, I know with what you're about to start doing. And then it would have like a go high level opt-in. And then it would send them like 2 or 3 emails as well. And it would get added to a newsletter, which I don't do anymore, but that worked well. That's where we went from like 44K a month to 62K in 30 days. So Twitter plus YouTube, but then also just this is super underrated is just like doing good work for your clients and making sure like the clients know you have their back and just doing good communication, because it's very easy to stand out in a sense of most agencies are very bad. They'll sign you and then maybe you don't get the first video for 27 days or something like that, or they're just very bad at communicating. So as long as you communicate with the clients, do good work, they'll start to send you referrals, and then you can reward the people presenting referrals, make more money. And yeah, there's a story of this guy. He scaled from 5K a month to 300K a month in like a year. And it was just through referrals and then strategic partnerships with other agencies. So like if he runs a Google Ads agency, he'll get an email agency to refer him clients. So there's so many ways to grow and get clients. But yeah, that's what's working for me right now.
Nice. How big is your team?
So our team is composed, we just hired like 5 people like 2 days ago, but I think we're at 17 people now. Majority of those are like video editors. Cause each editor can only take on 2 clients before like it gets too crazy. That's the problem with most content agencies. They put too many clients per editor, and then it just destroys everything. So 2 is the safe zone. So our core team though is 5 people, and then the rest are like video editors.
Yeah. What's your profit margin on the 132K?
Yeah. So basically our profit margin is 65%.
Cool. Nice. There's a really lean operation for that level of volume.
Yeah.
So it's good. I feel like a lot of people, you'll see this a lot where they'll be running at like 70 or 80% and they'll be stuck at like 30K a month or something like that. And they're like, dude, I can't scale more. It's like, okay, well, the answer is to hire more people. Like that's literally it. Like, people just don't get the concept of you're not interested in profit margin. You're interested in absolute amount of profit. Like it makes more sense to have a $300,000 a month business at a 50% profit margin for $150,000 profit than it does to have a $50,000 a month business at 80% profit margin. You make like more than triple the amount of profit. You know, people just don't get this. You'll see stuff and it'd be like, you could be at $1 million a month and have like a 40% margin, but it's like a 10% growth rate. So you're going up like $100,000 a month every single month. And people are like, oh, well, your profit margin's super low. It's like, yeah, but I could temporarily stop the margin from being that low and extract a shit ton of profit, but then the growth would go down. Like people just don't fundamentally get the concept of I'm putting it back so that the absolute amount of profit goes up over time.
Yeah, exactly. Like with us, when we hit like 15, 20K a month, it's like, okay, I got to add on like $2,000 or $3,000 a month worth of like team members, maybe a manager or something like that. And then that's what pushes us to 40, 60K a month. And then sure, like the margin goes down, but yeah, like you said, the absolute profit goes up.
Have you found that that's kind of the most actually like mentally strenuous part of scaling a business is like hiring and managing people?
Yes. So the most difficult part is like especially when you're building a business off of the branch of your or off the back of your personal brand, when it's like, oh, you get the team in, maybe people sign on and they're expecting to work with you. And then there's like operations manager. We haven't had like too many issues with that. But one thing and this goes for any business, it's like nobody's going to do most things as good as yourself, the owner of the business. So like, for example, if you hire a closer, it's normal for them to perform at 80% of your level. Same thing applies to like other roles. That's one thing that's like slightly tough, or also just like finding the time to like really train up the team members and make sure they're doing good. But yeah, I would say hiring, because like getting clients, man, I can do that in my sleep. Like we've actually for the first time ever, like had to, I don't want to say waitlist clients, but like delay onboardings and taking payments from new clients over the past like 2-3 weeks or so, because we've just had too many and I want to make sure the quality of our work doesn't go down. So we churn people. But yeah, definitely hiring, like, for example, getting a good copywriter, that's a whole thing, getting a good ops manager. So yeah, definitely hiring. I would say the managing is like pretty easy. Like I can do that. I can manage. So my ops manager was on vacation for like 7 days. She went to Italy, Switzerland or something like that. I don't know. And I had to manage the whole 132K a month business. And I was able to do it in like 2 hours a day of work spread out throughout the whole day. So like managing isn't too difficult, especially when you got like the Airtable and some automations and stuff. But definitely hiring, yeah, that's the tough trick.
Yeah, I feel like it's a degree of greed sometimes, or people like it normally tends to be a thing when they're around like 15 to 30K a month. It's like, well, I don't want to hire someone because it's either greed or fear. It's like, well, I don't want to give up some of my margin, or it's like, well, if I hire someone, I'm not going to be able to grow and they're going to make less money. And you know what I mean? It's kind of these like insane mental spirals. And that's what actually stops people from continuing growth. Is they're either being too scared or they're being too greedy.
Yeah.
Which are like opposite ends of the spectrum, but that's just what I found to be the case. It's like you need to be very stable and just calculated. Like, no, it should work out, and patient. It's normally fear or greed that destroys people.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing to add on to that is the greed part is very stupid because you don't actually need that much money to like live. For example, maybe your apartment's like 3K and then like a little bit of food, or maybe you can even live with your parents. Like I did. I stayed living in my parents' house, making like 100K months and just stacking bread. But you have to realize like just sacrifice that 2, 3, 4K a month, get some team members in and push up. Like you don't even need the money. Like you'll still eat, you'll still have a house, etc. So people need to, like, if you want to be a good business owner, like you need good risk tolerance. You got to be able to make plays and yeah.
So, any last piece of advice for maybe somebody who's a beginner in their business journey, or maybe they're considering joining Client Ascension, or they watch my channel or whatever? Any last piece of advice is for them to help them grow their business faster?
Yeah, I have like 1 or 2 things to say. So the first thing is, you know, if you see someone like myself or the other people on Daniel's channel getting results, just understand if we can do it, so can you, right? So just adopt that mindset. Like when I started my short form agency, that was one big mantra, I guess I kept telling myself was, oh, if they can do it, so can I. If they can do it, so can I. So I see these short form guys pushing 5K months, 10K months. I was at 0. And that's what really pushed me forward. So number 1, keep that in mind. And then number 2, like if you're not making money, just look at your inputs. Like that's where the money is in. Like it's so cliche, it's so stupid, such basic advice. Maybe you'll even end up joining some random program and then they'll tell you that and you'll be pissed. But like they're telling you that because it works. If anyone's on the fence, you know, you want to join Client Ascension, you're not sure, just keep watching all these testimonials. Keep watching all the YouTube videos and you'll eventually buy it because you'll realize, you know, Daniel knows his stuff. So that's what I got to say.
Dope. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on. I'll leave your links in the description for anybody who wants to connect with you.
Yep. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Peace, dude.